You wake up already tired, not from lack of sleep, from lack of direction. You check your phone before your feet even touch the floor, and within minutes your mind is scattered across 10 different problems that aren't even yours yet. You go through the motions, work, obligations, small talk. By evening you're drained, but you can't explain what exactly drained you. Nothing dramatic happened. Nothing you could point to and say, that's the reason. And yet the exhaustion is real. You look composed on the outside, maybe even successful. But inside there's a low, constant static, a sense that you're reacting to life rather than living it. You tell yourself you'll fix it once things calm down, but things never calm down. So the question sits there, quiet and uncomfortable. What if the problem isn't your schedule? What if it's something you've never actually addressed? Here's what most people miss. Exhaustion like this isn't usually physical. It's the cost of running an untrained mind in an overstimulated world, reacting to every notification, every opinion, every minor inconvenience as if it demands your full emotional response. Epictetus made a distinction nearly 2,000 years ago that still cuts through the noise today. Some things are within your control, and everything else isn't. Most of your fatigue comes from fighting the second category. You're not weak. You're untrained. And the good news about being untrained is simple. It means this can be built. In the next few minutes, you'll walk through 10 practices that rebuild mental and emotional balance from the ground up, not quick fixes, but a system. Each one prepares you for the next. The early practices restore your foundation. The later ones protect it under pressure, because knowing what to do means nothing if it collapses on your worst days. Before we go further, if this moment felt familiar, if you recognized yourself in that static, that quiet exhaustion, type, I know that feeling in the comments. Not for anyone else, just so you can see it written down by you. Practice 1. Reclaim the body. Balance doesn't start in the mind, it starts in the body. Because the body is the first thing you actually control. You wake up and immediately consult your phone, letting the outside world set your nervous system's temperature before you've even stood up. Try this instead. Before anything else, move. Stretch, walk, breathe deliberately for 2 minutes. It sounds too small to matter. But Marcus Aurelius governed an empire while writing to himself about starting each day prepared, deliberately, rather than swept along by it. The body is where discipline becomes real, not theoretical. When you control your first physical action of the day, you send yourself a quiet message. I am not just reacting. Small, repeatable, unglamorous, and exactly why it works. This isn't about performance. It's about proving to yourself in a tangible way that you're still the one steering. Practice 2. Build one unshakable habit. Most people try to fix everything at once: diet, sleep, focus, mood, and end up fixing nothing. Motivation spikes, then disappears within a week. What actually restores balance isn't a burst of intensity. It's one habit, repeated so consistently it becomes identity rather than effort. Choose something small enough that skipping it feels strange, not something big enough that starting it feels heroic. The Stoics understood repetition as a form of character building. You don't become disciplined by deciding to be disciplined. You become disciplined by doing the same right action on ordinary, unremarkable days. This is where most self-improvement content quietly fails people. It sells transformation as an event. It isn't, it's an accumulation. And once this one habit holds, everything else you attempt afterward becomes easier to sustain. Practice 3. Protect real recovery. You may think rest is what happens when you finally stop. But scrolling for an hour isn't rest, it's a different kind of consumption. One that leaves you more depleted, not less. True recovery is intentional. Sleep protected as a non-negotiable. Silence without a screen. Time where your mind isn't being fed anything at all. Seneca warned against a busyness that looks productive, but is actually just noise avoidance filling every gap. So you never have to sit with your own thoughts. That avoidance has a cost and it compounds quietly. What would change if your evenings were designed instead of default? Try 1 hour once a day completely unplugged. Not to be unproductive, to let your nervous system actually finish processing the day, instead of carrying it unfinished into tomorrow. Practice 4. Master your attention. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Your attention is the only currency you actually spend, and most of it is being spent by other people's design, not yours. Every app, every headline, every algorithm is built to fragment your focus, because a scattered mind is easier to sell to than a calm one. Maybe the problem isn't a lack of discipline, Maybe it's that you've never trained your attention to stay anywhere long enough to build anything. Try single tasking for 25 minutes, one task, phone in another room, no exceptions. It will feel harder than it should. That difficulty is the evidence of how fragmented you've become, and also the first sign of how quickly it can be repaired. Attention, once reclaimed, becomes the foundation everything else in this list depends on. Practice 5. Track real progress. Balance erodes fastest when effort feels invisible. You do the work, but nothing seems to change, so you quietly stop. This is where most people abandon the process, not because it failed, but because they had no way of seeing it working. Keep something simple. A short daily note, 3 lines tracking what you did and how you felt. Not for perfection, for evidence. Musonius Rufus taught that philosophy proves itself through action, not through how eloquently someone can describe their intentions. The same applies here. A written record turns abstract effort into visible proof, and proof is what keeps you going when motivation inevitably fades. Weeks from now, that quiet page becomes the argument against the voice telling you nothing is changing. Practice 6. Confront the inner voice. There's a narrator running in your head most of the day, and you've probably never questioned whether it's telling you the truth. It says you're behind. Not enough. Running out of time. Most people accept this voice as fact rather than recognizing it as interpretation. What if that inner criticism isn't protecting you? What if it's actually the thing keeping you stuck, convincing you that rest is laziness and struggle is failure? The Stoics didn't chase positivity. They practiced accuracy, separating the event from the story added on top of it. Next time that voice speaks, pause and ask, is this fact or is this fear wearing the disguise of reason? That single question, repeated enough times, starts to quiet a voice that has run unchallenged for years. Practice 7. Choose your circle deliberately. You absorb more from the people around you than you realize their urgency, their complaints, their standards, even their exhaustion. Spend enough time around people who treat struggle as identity, and you'll start doing the same without noticing. This isn't about cutting people off dramatically. It's about attention again, who gets your best energy, and who's simply been given it by habit. Seneca advised choosing companions the way you'd choose books, for what they add, not merely for their familiarity. Ask yourself honestly, after time with this person, do you feel steadier or more scattered? You don't need a large circle. You need the right one, people whose calm becomes contagious, rather than whose chaos becomes your baseline. Practice 8. Anchor to a purpose larger than comfort. Discipline without a reason behind it eventually collapses because willpower alone runs out. What sustains someone through hard, unglamorous days isn't intensity, it's meaning. Ask yourself plainly, why does any of this matter to you? Not to impress anyone, not for a number on a screen. What are you actually building? And who benefits when you follow through? Marcus Aurelius returned to duty and purpose constantly in his private writings, not because purpose made things easy, but because it made them bearable when they weren't. Without this anchor, every setback feels like proof you should quit. With it, setbacks become simply part of the process. Write down in one sentence what you're actually working toward. You'll need that sentence later, on the days none of this feels worth it. Practice 9. Regulate, don't suppress. Somewhere along the way, staying calm got confused with feeling nothing. That's not Stoicism, that's suppression, and suppression always finds another way out, usually at the worst possible time. Real emotional control isn't the absence of feeling. It's the space between what happens to you and how you respond to it. You may think you're staying composed, but you might actually be storing pressure you'll eventually pay for. Try this instead. When something triggers you, pause for 10 seconds before responding. Not to hide the emotion, to choose what you do with it. Name it silently. Anger, frustration, disappointment, naming it takes away some of its grip. This single pause, practiced consistently, becomes the difference between a reaction you regret and a response you respect. It's small. It's also everything. Practice 10. Build the system that holds it together. Every practice so far works until a bad day arrives and motivation disappears. This is where most people quietly fall apart. Not from lack of knowledge, but from having no structure to catch them when willpower runs out. A system means your habits don't depend on how you feel that morning. It means the walk happens even when you don't want it to. The journal gets 3 lines even on the hardest day. Discipline, Epictetus argued, isn't a feeling you wait for, it's a practice you return to, especially when you don't feel like it. This final piece isn't another tip stacked on the others. It's the structure that keeps all nine standing when life stops cooperating, which it eventually will. Maybe you were never broken. Maybe you were simply untrained, reacting to a world designed to pull your attention in every direction except inward. These 10 practices aren't separate fixes. They're one process, reclaiming control over your body, your attention, your habits, and eventually your identity. Balance was never about eliminating difficulty. It was about building a self steady enough to meet difficulty without being consumed by it. You don't need a new personality. You need to remove what's been burying the disciplined, capable person who was already in there, waiting for structure instead of noise. Real change doesn't happen in front of an audience. It happens quietly when you choose the walk nobody sees, the pause nobody notices, the honest sentence in a private journal. It happens on the ordinary morning when the old version of you would have reached for the phone first and instead you don't. That moment, repeated enough times, isn't a habit anymore. It's who you are. If you're committing to even one of these today, write, "I'm starting now" in the comments, not as a promise to me, but as a marker for the version of you who might need to look back and remember where this began. If this reached you, consider subscribing to Anonymous Achiever. More of this is coming. Built the same way, honest, grounded, and meant to be lived, not just watched. Share it with someone quietly carrying the same exhaustion you started with today. You were never meant to just survive your days. You were meant to command them.